transformed. The Egyptian arts, and more especially the Egyptian architecture, were the outcome of an ideal peculiar to the race, which for 50 centuries was the constant preoccupation of an entire people. The dream of the Egyptians was to create for man an imperishable dwelling in contrast with his ephemeral existence. This race, unlike in this respect to all other races, despised life and courted death. What interested it more than anything else was the motionless mummy, which, its eyes of enamel encrusted in its golden mask, gazed eternally from the depths of its gloomy resting place on mysterious hieroglyphics. Guarded in its sepulchral dwelling vast as a palace against all profanation, the mummy was surrounded on the painted and sculptured walls of endless corridors by all that had charmed it during its brief terrestrial existence. Egyptian architecture is more especially a funereal and religious architecture, having more or less for its object the mummy and the gods. For them it is that the subterranean vaults were excavated, that the obelisks, the pylons, and the pyramids were raised, and for them that the pensive giants reclined on their thrones of stone in a pose so majestic and so harmonious. Everything about this architecture is stable and massive because it aimed at being eternal. If the Egyptians were the only people of antiquity with which we were acquainted, it would indeed be said that art is the most faithful expression of the soul of the race of which it is the creation. Peoples differing widely from one another, the Ethiopians, an inferior race, the Greeks and the Persians, superior races, have borrowed their arts either from Egypt alone or from Egypt and Assyria. Let us see what they became in their hands. Let us deal to begin with the inferior people we have just mentioned, with the Ethiopians. It is known that at a late period in Egyptian history, that of the 24th dynasty, the peoples of the Sudan, taking advantage of the anarchy and decadence of Egypt, seized some of its provinces and founded a kingdom which, having Napata and Meroe successively for its capital, maintained its independence for several centuries. Dazzled by the civilization of the vanquished people, they endeavored to copy their monuments and arts, but these copies of which we possess specimens are for the most part but very rude efforts. These Negroes were barbarians condemned by their mental inferiority, never to shake off their barbarism, and in spite of the civilizing influence of the Egyptians, it is a fact that they never did shake it off. There is no example in ancient or modern history of a Negro people having reached a certain level of civilization, and on every occasion when a superior civilization, by one of those accidents which in ancient times occurred in Ethiopia and in modern times in Haiti, has fallen into the hands of the Negro race, this civilization has speedily reverted to wretchedly inferior forms. Under a very different latitude, another race, also barbarian at the time, but a white race, that of the Greeks, borrowed from Egypt and Assyria the first models of its arts, and confined itself at first to making crude copies. The artistic productions of these two great